this is what I tell people that I do. I create educational stuff for kids. And I basically do the whole thing. So well, I put father first because I'm also a stay-home dad. So during the day I still have a 5-year-old. I'm just trying to get off into school. And I do all my stuff at night then. But I'm an artist, author, I do the design, programming, the whole bit there. So this was Math Doodles, and it's online. And just to give you an idea of what I have going on there.
When I was in school, I thought math looked like this. During my math classes, I drew a lot of doodles. As an adult, I discovered math also looks like this. I still draw doodles.
This is actually at mathdoodles.com, and there's a secret link on that page, and I want to share it with everybody here. If you scroll down to the bottom, there's a hand holding a big sign that says secret link. If you click on it and you use the username I love, so just I love, and then you use the password math, you'll be able to get into us and check it out if you'd like. So this is Math Doodles. I just want to show you just a little bit just to get an idea of what I've been doing. Oh, there's the password right there. So it's I love and math. So basically I have a bunch of these math games, and my idea was I just want to bring them over to the iPhone. In this case we're looking at time, and we're just adding hours. And basically we want to get this fly here. So the students need to add, in this case, 1 hour. They splat the fly, it pops up someplace else. So then they need to go to there, and it looks like it's 2 hours. And so on, all right? And the kids kind of keep going around. The idea was that I want kids to kind of play with the ideas of math. And then the other thing is I like to try to use the same model, but if instead of hours, we could set it up to minutes, or we could set it up to angles. So when we're doing angles here, the idea is maybe kids don't quite know how angles work, but they could start to kind of estimate and ballpark it. So from here to here is, any guesses?
What do you think?
30 degrees.
30 degrees? And then from there to there?
It is 90 degrees.
90. And so they get to kind of see a visual representation of that rotation. Good job.
What do you think about the splatting of the fly?
I like it.
So that's the kind of stuff that I was doing. Thank you very much for the awesome. So then we discovered there's this new platform here. And it's basically got all these great things. It's mobile, it's multi-touch, there's an accelerometer. And the thing that caught my eye the biggest was it's pretty much independent developer friendly. The App Store model, I think everybody knows, is you can download the SDK for free and play with it if you want. If you want to start using it, it's $99 a year, which has got to be the cheapest software out there for what you can do. You build your app, you post it, you set the price, and they take 30%, you get 70%. And that's a pretty good deal. My first iPhone app was taking one of my games there. I'm going to try to show it on the other thing over here. So some stacker, the way it works is you can actually go in and choose what you want to stack. In this case, I'm going to do the dice, and we'll keep it in solid mode. And I'm going to have the sound hook real quick. The idea is you get 3 target numbers, and you need to stack the dice to get those numbers. When you get it, it gives you 3 new numbers, and you get a little smiley face there. So the idea is that to get kids to doing practice, but it's not just the rote practice, they're also doing other problem solving. And then went in, and if they want to, they can actually use fingers. So now they're stacking fingers. All right. I have these little counters. I have numerals. All right, same thing. I did money. right? So we need 25, and there's a new one, right? 35. I went to the printed, so using words, and then I did Spanish. And then the other thing I did was Roman numerals, because you always need Roman numerals. And this is, I'm going to put it in race mode. So in race mode, I have a timer. Can you guys see my timer? No, not yet, because it's off the screen. It's that little tab of paper that goes around the screen. So my timer is, instead of using digits or numbers, that little tab goes around, and when it gets over here, basically the game's over. So kids can kind of like watch that in the peripheral vision and kind of have a sense when when it starts turning this corner, they start to panic a little bit. So that's the app. And I'm going to switch back over. With the voice command switch over.
So Daren, if you did that app again now, would you do anything different for like taking advantage of other features in like the iPad?
Say what she's saying.
She was asking if I did the app now. This one I got out actually around December. So if I was doing it for the iPad, would I do it differently? Yes. And I have another app that I'm working on for the iPad. I like that you could bring these apps from the small size onto the iPad, but if you're going to design it for that much real estate, I wouldn't design it the same way I do for that smaller real estate.
But you didn't think, sorry, that you needed audio feedback, like, or a mode, like where it says 35, this is a quarter, this is a nickel.
No, I didn't.
Oh, I need that one.
You need that one?
Yeah.
I'll work it into it.
You can sell one anyway.
or just at some point.
So basically, this is how I went from Flash and Director to the iPhone. And like I said, I am really kind of a non-programmer. So I went through the steps. I registered and downloaded the SDK, which everybody can do. And I had these main questions. This is what I wanted to know. Where do I put my picture sounds? How do I lay out my screens? Where does the code go? And how does it all connect? That's all I wanted to know. So I went to the library, and I got some books. Took them home. I read them. First thing I read was Objective-C is based on C, and that knowing C will make learning Objective-C easier. So I went back to the library. And my kids laughed at my new book. They joked. They said, look, A is for apple, B is for ball, and Dad thinks C is for dummies. They thought that was hilarious. So my next step was, I kind of read through the books, but the Xcode still just didn't click, because I was basically used to doing the director lingo and some of the Flash action script. And so I found some websites, and I found these were kind of helpful. And once again, these are all up here for anybody who's like looking to try to just dabble and find out what's going on. And then I discovered the magic for me. And the magic for me was there are all these videos up there on how to do programming. And they're not put out by Apple. They're not put out by a big publisher. Here you have like Simple SDK, switching views. They all have these little names, like this is the SDK tutorial. This is Simple SDK. When you go onto it, it starts out with, this is Simple SDK. I'm going to show you how.
Oh.
This one I loaded, so I'm hoping it will play. Should I click here or just hit play? It's like 11, 12-year-old kids. Look at this intro he has for his little... Please subscribe.
Hey guys, Matthew Zip here, and
I love you, man.
Quick Xcode tutorial. It's my first Xcode tutorial, and it's going to be how to make your first iPhone app, and it's going to be called Hello World. So to download Xcode and all the other applications like Interface Builder and iPhone Simulator that come with it, you're going to have to go to iPhone, developer.apple.com/iPhone to download the iPhone.
They take you through all of the steps.
Development kit, and
I'm going to see if I can zip it forward a little bit here.
And anyways, so first thing you're going to do is go down to lib files and click on main window.xib.
And this was perfect for me. This is what I needed. I had everything opened on one side, and I would start his video, and he'd get ahead of me, and I'd stop it. And then I'd key it in and catch up to him. Now, the funniest thing was I did this presentation in Chicago, and someone raised their hand, and they said, so what you're trying to say is that you're going to a bunch of kids to learn how to program an app so that you can teach them how to add and subtract. And I said yes. So if you go to this page, I have a link to a bunch of them. It's awesome because it's a bunch of different kids and they all have a handle and they all are just, it's just amazing what they're doing there. It's also, I think, amazing just to see where kids are today. You know where kids are today, right?
Sleeping.
That's right, they should be sleeping. So, would you guys like to see the Xcode? You want me to open up real quick, or should I keep moving along? Is anybody interested in seeing it? I don't know where, okay. So, let me go to that. I need a handle, what's my handle? mdoodle here, and you actually would open up Xcode. When you download it, there's actually a suite of tools, but you basically get to them all in Xcode. When you open up Xcode, I already opened up some stackers here, and my first thing was, where do you put the images, right? So while you're in Xcode, right here is where you put your images. And I found it up from a 10-year-old kid. Actually, let me get back to that. All you do is you just simply drag your images from a folder and you dump them right here. And you can see you're looking at my images here. Right? There they all are. You name them all, they're good to go. My next question was, where do you put the code? Code goes up here in this folder called classes, and I can show a file. Next code, there's two types of files. There's a H file, where you basically, you declare everything there. I'm not going to go into the code, but this is where that happens. So in the H file, you're basically saying, I'm going to have a variable called this, or I'm going to be calling a picture like this. The M files is where all the actual instructions are going. So it's where you're telling it to load the different images and switching them out. And this one handles the start of a touch. And I'm writing all this stuff. So it's fun. But what you'll find is that if you follow the kids, you will learn. So my other part was then, how do you get them on the screen, and how do you link everything up? And so for that, if you click down here, it's called an XIB file, which the cool kids call nib files. So even though it's XIB, it's nib, because it's based on Next. And that'll bring this up here. So we're now in Interface Builder, which is part of the suite. And in Interface Builder, you can actually set up the screens. So if you look on the screen, I actually have this image right here. All right? And I've got these images here. I'm going to just mess it up. This is the mask hiding it. So this is to give it that drawing look. What I did was I took their wheel, which you could actually pull in, and then I covered it up with artwork. You could get to those things by here where it says objects, and you can pull up the different objects they have set for you. So if you wanted to pull another wheel in, you would just pull it in. If you wanted to pull in a button, you could just drag a button in like this. And then you can then go in over here. And you could actually say, I want the button to be a custom button. And then you could say, I want the image for the button to be this easy. So that's my button, using the easy here. And then you can kind of set a lot of the things up there. The other element is how do you connect it all then? Once you get your lovely display like that, just where you want it. And that happens in another window here. Right here is my connections. So what you do is you find what you're connected to. So I have a file, one of those H files is linking to this screen, and I have all my connections here. So you can see I have labels for different things. So like, let's say my instructions button. I had already said in that H file that I'm going to have an instructions button. So now it knows that I want an instructions button. You basically click here and you drag it to the button. So I'm going to drag it to my easy button. And then it knows that this is now the instruction button. So now when you go back into your code, you can now reference things and they all kind of work together. And I'm going to show you one more thing before everybody glazes over. I'm going to quit out of Interface Builder.
Since you brought it up, do you mind if I ask the audience a question related to that?
Sure.
I just want to know for this market, how many, if you know the answer to this, how many people tend to be more in like Cocoa Interface Builder developers, and people are more OpenGL?
How many people here program?
You better ask the 11-year-old.
So we have a few people here that actually use code here. And how many people are more designers? And how many are more like project planners or developers?
I think OpenGL is generally more for 3D games. I mean, you can use it for other stuff, but you're going to run into that a lot more in PlayStation type stuff. Not so much on mobile.
Okay, so now the last element is right here. You also have a simulator. And in the simulator, I have it set the simulator here. You can also set it to a device. So if you actually have your iPhone or you have your iPad, you register the number with Apple. So then you have to put a file on it so you can actually test it. But I'm going to just put it in the simulator mode, and you hit build and run. And when you hit build and run, it should compile it, and we should see it popping up here if we don't get any errors. It pops up, it's loaded. And there it is right there. And so you can test it out right on your desktop, or if you loaded it onto your device, you just did that right there. And that's one of the coolest things when you first do it. When I followed that kid's thing and did a hello world, I went like running up to my wife and said, "Look!" And she looks at my iPod Touch and all it says is hello world on it. And she's like, "Oh, that's nice." I'm like, "No! I got that on there. You know what I had to do to go with it?" She didn't. So let me get out of here. Unless anybody has any questions.
Just a quick question. How long did it take? So you already had the application designed to run in Flash on a computer. How long did it take you, once you figured out how to do this, to get the app up and running on the iPhone?
That's a good question. It takes me longer than it should. Basically, if you take a look at my application, and this is one of the things that I think Steve Jobs is talking about when he doesn't want just a flash converter. Because what I did was, I did redesign it for this device. So it is different than what you'll find on the screen here because I designed it for this screen. And because I was going to the iPhone, I did have to rethink some of how it was going to work, how it's working with touch instead of using a mouse and things like that. The other answer to that question is, it depends on how good of a flow I'm getting into. So there are times when it'll be like 3 in the morning before I know it, and I almost have a whole thing done. And there's other times where it goes slower. So it differs. Any other questions before I quit out of here?
We'll call you.
You'll call me? It's actually, if you're interested in looking into it, it's a pretty cool thing. And then, when I was at Ligature, we had We had someone from Harvard that they brought in as a consultant once a month. And he would work with us the whole day. And at the end of the day, he would always do the same thing. All of a sudden, he would like go, I think it all boils down to 3 points. It was always 3 points. I don't know why everything always boiled down to 3 points, but I figured I'd give my 3 main points. And they're not so much main points for the mobile, but it's actually more for developing stuff for kids and the approach I take. Okay, the first one is, if music be the food of love, play on. This one is the idea of, if you're going to develop educational stuff for kids, one great place to look for inspiration is, everybody probably had a favorite teacher. And what was it about that teacher that made him a good teacher? And one of mine was Mr. Hires. It was English literature. And he was a quirky guy. His desk was covered with wind-up toys. Because he collected them. All the kids always brought him wind-up toys. So it would be covered with wind-up toys. And we got there, first day, I was kind of half awake. And he had everybody take out, it was Twelfth Night, Shakespeare. And he said, all right, can someone read the first line? And this was the first line. And, you know, some kid in the back said, if music be the food of love, play it. He said, no! Someone else. And he called another kid. If music be the food, no! And he like started grabbing his ears and going, you guys are killing me! He slams his book on the desk and all the toys start jumping all over the place. And we spent the entire day on this line. And he went over and over and he explained, he said, do you know what this line means? Do you know what's going on? It's a man, he's in love, and he's listening to music, and he's talking about how if music is the food of love, play on, and that's the way I want you to. He made everybody have to read this line like that. And the thing that stuck with me is I paid attention. And the main reason I paid attention wasn't so much because I was a big fan of English literature, but it was very evident that my teacher was passionate about this, like really passionate about it. And I thought that if this guy's really passionate about it, there's got to be something there. And it really made me pay attention. So one of the things I like to do, like when I work with a client, is I need to see they're passionate about what they're doing. And I really believe that when you're creating stuff, you need to be passionate about it. I think it shows through at the end product. I think if you're passionate about it and you're building something, I think you kind of leave like tool marks on the actual product. So one of my bits of advice is you need to be passionate about it, or someone on your team needs to be passionate about it. If you're doing something and you're kind of like this, you need to find someone who loves it. And someone loves everything. So it doesn't matter what subject you got, there's someone out there that thinks it's the coolest thing, and you need to find who that person is. So that's number one. Number two, learning is fun. One of my pet peeves is when people claim that they make learning fun. Okay? You don't make learning fun. Learning is fun. Kids love to learn. What happens is, when you get into school, it's possible to wreck it. It's possible to make it not fun. But learning itself really is fun. We don't make it that way. So please, anybody out here, in your stuff, don't write that you're making it fun, because we're not really that good. Learning is fun. Our job is not to wreck it and keep it fun. I also believe that learning is fun works both ways. It works for the kids we're developing stuff for, and it also works for us. We need to keep learning. Learning how to do Xcode was fun. One of the things I've done in the past, if you go up to the top here, is I like to kind of think like I'm in a perpetual grad school and I'm the professor. So I'll set little projects up for myself. I want to see if this pops up real quick. This is when I knew I was starting to work on small screens. I showed this before, but I'm going to show it again. I thought that like a mobile phone screen is small. What if you go smaller? And I said, what if we were going to do stamp size games? So these look big up here, but if you look at my screen, they're the size of a stamp. And I set myself a challenge of saying, if I was going to make stamp-sized games, how would I do it? And so I have a set of games here that are stamp-sized games. Let's see if this one loads. There it goes. No way it's goofy like that. Let me see. And the way it works, it's doing that thing there, but I think we could figure out. This I was teaching slides, flips, and turns. Now this is the size of a stamp. The idea is to change that figure so it overlaps these other figures in the right way. This is where I came up with my idea for my timer. Because I was going, if I have a size that small, I don't have space for a timer. And if you look at this little green dot here, that's my timer. And if it still works, you should be able to click on it, and it should start moving along. So there's my timer. And it was because of this little exercise that I came up with that idea, and I use it now in my other stuff. And the way you do it is, if you want to do a slide, or if you want to flip, like from here to here's a flip, you click through to flip, which would be this one, and then you click here, and it matches up, all right? And like from here to here is a rotation, clockwise, so I click clockwise, and I rotate. So I'm going to get rid of this. So that's just an example of continuing to learn ourselves. And it's also an example of playing. So learning is fun is second. Number 3 is just for grins. I used to work for the federal government, and I wasn't a good fit. And one of the things they did was, this is way back before PowerPoint, and I would do these like slideshows for government stuff. And I was a renegade. I was trying to do PowerPoint stuff. So I was making the backgrounds look, I thought, cool, and changing the fonts, and bullets, I was using different shapes. And my boss, bless his heart, would call me over and he said, Daren, let's see what you've been doing all day today. And I go, all right. And I bring the slides over and we'd sit down. He goes, this looks awesome, this is great, but what if we tried that background instead of that plaid thing you're going on? What if we went with, I don't know, a solid color, maybe blue? Just for the grins, he would say. So I would change it to blue. And the heads, I'm thinking if we just used Helvetica, bold. I change it to that. That's good. And the type, what if we made that white? And he would basically get back down to the template that I was supposed to be doing. But he would never actually tell me to just stick to the template. We would do this like once a week. So just for grins stuck in my head, but that's not why I have it up there. I have it for just for grins is, as I'm developing stuff, I like to season it with things that are just for grins. And so it might be a goofy little sound. It might be that, like that, I had one where this little roach would walk across and eat a pretzel. And like every random 100th time, it would burp. But just randomly. But there were just these little things that you put in just for grins. And I found that these little just for grins seasoning seems to carry a long way when the kids are playing with it. So just for grins is my third one. And to just share one of my other just for grins, I'm going to share with you something else I've been doing. My $1 million ideas.
No, we're going to do this tomorrow, right? We're going to do some brain sprints.
We will be doing some brain sprints, but these are non-app ones.
Well, maybe this could be something that someone could come up with and get that $1 million idea.
It also leads to one of the other things let me pull the list out, is to also start using the technology you're trying to design for. So, I want to show this. So what I did was, I started saying, what if I was going to use the iPad for actually doing artwork? Because what I would love is if school kids started using the iPad to actually do their work on it. And I was looking at, well, could you do that? So I've been using a program called Sketchbook Pro, and I've been trying to see if I could paint with it. And so all these $1 million ideas are ideas that I did in Sketchbook Pro probably over the last couple of weeks. And I'm willing to go, I don't know, 70-30 with anybody. If you want to develop these, you give me a call. So my first one was a single slice pizza pan.
Wait a second, Daren.
Yeah.
Get back to that. Where's that microphone?
This one? That one?
Single slice pizza pan.
Yeah.
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 Alright, so far you're good. If you got a thought.
Left-handed underwear.
Thought?
It's really funny.
I figure it's about time that left-handed guys have to stop wearing their underwear inside out. The nose ring air freshener.
Weird.
But wait, back up to that. You know, think about it. The standard air freshener, it freshens all the air. Why not just freshen the air that goes right in your nostrils?
Right? Just freshen what you breathe.
Freshen what you breathe. Environmentally friendly.
Now don't show them this one. I always thought strips out there would be good. You see, it's mirror included.
Thoughts? That'd be formal operational.
It's cool because when you open it up, all the little dates say now. And then this one I thought, it seems so odd that you're always assigned like 500 words, 600 words. Wouldn't it be cool if you could just assign kids like a mile? Which gets me to the end, which is play on.
All right, Daren Carstens.
Here's the stick and the biscuit.
All right.
Put the biscuit on top of the stick and you pull it down.